Welcome, everybody. I'm Brian Jones, and this is Joy in Real Time, and I hope you're doing well today. So, it's been a busy few weeks for me. I was my wife and I were in Kanha, which is our uh, big ashram or meditation center in outside of Hyderabad. We were there for 3 weeks, and coming back. Um, the jet lag was so intense. I mean, neither of us could really function for about 3 weeks. And, finally, I feel like I'm sort of, I can't really say normalizing because I don't know if I'll ever be the same after that trip. But anyway, it's been an interesting few weeks. And has it, and I know you'll all relate to this, it's like, there's a saying, when it rains, it pours. And it means like, you know, uh, when one thing comes up in your life, it's not just one thing, it's like several things. And when I came back, I've had so much work to do, so many projects, and so many projects for heartfulness too. And it's like one thing after the other, and I feel like it's just pouring on me. So it's been an interesting time to have that nice peaceful few weeks, and then all of a sudden coming back, and it's like being thrown into the fire again. So, but that's how life is. So let me switch over and see who's joining in this morning. So if you're joining in for the first time, or if you've been tuning in, please, why don't you go ahead and put your name and where you're from in the chat, or anything else you'd like to say. And also today, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, feel free to put those in the chat too. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, I get the chats from both of those. So let's see who's here. Anil, welcome, Anil. Yeah, Rachita. Good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. Ellie, hey Ellie. Ellie, I look forward to catching up with you again sometime soon. Maybe one of the gatherings here in the United States. Pam, you're new in the chat, but regular meditation with you. Okay, Pam. Well, glad to know that you're there. Vidya, good morning. Andy, my brother, Northern Ireland. Michael from Washington, UK. Yes, exactly. Janie, welcome. Oh, great, Janie. Glad you're tuning in. And who else? Marala Daran. I hope I'm saying that okay, from Dublin, California. Wow. Nice. So glad you're all tuning in today, and it's great to be with you. So I have a topic today that I picked out. I've been coming back to this book. Someone sort of reminded reminded me of it, I should say. There's a little book, and the mission also publishes this book. So it's really been endorsed by our spiritual guides from even Lalaji's time all the way up through Daji's time. And the book is called As a Man Thinketh, and it's written by someone named James Allen. And here's the version of the Heartfulness publication version of it. This is what it looks like. And look, it's a very small book. This is a small book that packs a punch. I mean, this was written back at the turn of the century. And by the turn of the century, I'm talking about the beginning of the 1900s. So the language in this book is sort of the Old English style language. So we have to, sort of filter through that. But you'll see how powerful this is. And in this one little book, I mean, this reads just like anything we would read from the spiritual guides. I mean, it's just profound. So this is a particular chapter called Thought and Purpose. Thought and Purpose. And I'll read some of this, and then, as I usually do, I'll give a few thoughts about it. And before I read this, let me set this up. Before I read this, How many times in our lives have we reached a point where we just feel like there's something we need yet to do, or there's something we'd really like to do, and we sort of feel stuck. Maybe we're stuck in a job that we've had for a while. And the longer you have a job, you get secure in that job, and you're not likely to want to make a change. Okay, because we all want security in our life. But yet, how many times people will go through their whole life clinging on to that security and never really being courageous enough to step out and try something different, because it's a little scary. Now, in my life, I've had many different careers, but to be honest with you, most of those I didn't really choose. Most of those were forced upon me. Okay. For example, I was had a sales rep firm in the music industry. It was very successful. I had about 5 people working for me, a small business, and I was comfortable in that business. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I like sales and marketing. But a time came when the whole industry changed, and big corporations came in and took over the whole industry. And I found one day I was basically put out of business because they were no longer using independent sales reps anymore. And so I was forced into stepping out of that security zone into the unknown. And that was hard. It was really hard. It took me about 2 years to get it together. But as a result of that, I wound up taking up painting, becoming an artist. I mean, it's the most unlikely of things. Some of my friends thought I was really crazy. You're going to become an artist now? That doesn't sound like a very good choice. But after 2 years, I was having solo shows and group shows in big galleries. I moved back to Cleveland. I ultimately opened my own gallery. I've sold paintings all over the world. So, it was something that was an incredibly fulfilling time in my life, and having my own gallery in a very trendy neighborhood. I got to experience being a shopkeeper. And, I know you've heard me talk about this before, but it really relates to this thought and purpose chapter that I'm going to read here. So sometimes I think we have to, step back. And, going to someplace like the ashram is a great place to do this. Sometimes we have to step back in our life and assess, am I happy doing what I'm doing? Is there something more I would like to do? Is there a way that I can do that? Yeah. Because if we think about the short span of our life, what is the purpose of our life? I mean, that properly is different for everybody, but we need to help ourselves find that purpose, in my opinion, and then see if there's ways that we can fulfill it. And it may not always be as we think it's going to be, but if we do have an objective in mind, James Allen is going to guide us on how to get there. So here's a chapter called Thought and Purpose. And just to not warn you, but let you know up front, his language is very strong and very direct. Okay. So here's what he says. Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. Wow. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. Okay, so basically, he's saying that if we go through life letting our thoughts drift with no direction, it's like the boat on the ocean that doesn't have a sail anymore, or the rudder is broken. We can't uh, get any velocity or movement forward, and we can't steer. So this in this first paragraph, this is exactly what he's talking about. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self pitying, all of which lead, just as surely as deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, to failure, unhappiness, and loss. For weakness cannot persist in a power evolving universe. I told you this was going to be a little rough. He's going to be hard on us here today. So, I mean, he really calls it like it is. So, if we don't have a central purpose, now let's be thankful for a minute here, a moment of gratitude, because all of us, I'm pretty sure most of us watching here today, we do have a purpose, and our purpose is a spiritual goal, and that's the most important goal we can have. So we can be thankful that when we have that type of goal or purpose, that helps us a lot to feel fulfilled in our life. It's probably the most important thing is our spiritual convictions, I would say. And if you think about it, if we didn't have that, even with that, we still face worries and fears and troubles and self-pitying. We still face that. But without a spiritual base, how much more these affect us? Okay, now he continues. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Okay. Well, first of all, this Old English language is referring to he and him, and I apologize for that because there is a version of this book that's brought up to date with more gender neutral friendly wording, but this is the original copy I'm reading from. And so here, he says that, when we apply ourselves with that one-pointed determination in any direction, that even though we may meet with failure from time to time, and I have, for sure, he said that in any case, strength of character will be gained and will be the measure of true success in the long run. So here James Allen tells us that he gives us, the sort of the objective here, or I should say the practice, which is maintaining a sense of purpose and really staying focused on that thing until we achieve it. And, Babaji said something amazing. I'll make a confession here, okay? My memory's not so great. And I've never been able to remember all of the 10 maxims, though, I feel, they are imbibed automatically. Okay. But Babaji said there are three obstacles on the path. Three obstacles on the path. And so I thought, three I can handle. I can handle three. So here's Babaji's three obstacles on the path. He said, we try too many things at one time. Then he said, we try, but there is no attempt. And the third one is, we don't have confidence in ourselves. So here in one go, Babaji names three obstacles. And to my way of thinking is, okay, I may not remember all the maxims, but if I remember the three obstacles, I'll be okay. I can avoid those. All right. So this so relates to the same thing that James Allen is talking about. So let me continue on here. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix their thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. Okay, so here James Allen says something really great. He's saying that, we may not be prepared to undertake our grand purpose. We may not know what our grand purpose is. However, we should prepare ourselves in any case. And we do this through the faultless performance of our duty, no matter how insignificant our task may appear. Wow. Okay, so one of the things you've probably have heard me mention is I have great admiration and respect for people who are craftspeople. Used to be the word craftsman. Somebody's a craftsman. What is a craftsperson, a craftsman? What does that mean? Okay. For example, somebody can be an artist, like I'm an artist, but it may not mean that they're a craftsman or a craftsperson. Okay. If you think about somebody that takes up a craft, this is someone who even when there is no one else looking or no one else around, they will do their craft meticulously, impeccably. They'll pay attention to every single detail. That is a very rare personality type, okay? Because it's easy for us to, and some days, we just don't feel up to par, or we want to take a break or whatever. All of that's good too. But this idea of a craftsperson who is so meticulous in their craft, and this is something we can apply that attitude, that concept to our job, no matter what our job is, even if our job isn't a very exciting job. If we apply our craft to it, take it up like a craftsperson, then we make ourselves stronger in our own character. And that's so, so important. Okay. Now, let me see where this leads. There's a number more paragraphs, but I'm not sure I want to read this whole thing. Okay. All right. So I'll jump to the last couple of paragraphs here. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are seasonably planted, Oh, his purposes are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fail, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Wow. So that's a beautiful way of saying that when we apply ourselves, our actions bear fruit in their own time in a natural way. Thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. Wow. Okay. So yeah, James Allen, whenever I feel, a day when I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and this morning, to be honest with you, I felt a little bit overwhelmed with all of the projects and things that I'm taking on. It was just really kind of got to me there. And I pick up James Allen's book, and it's just like, he doesn't console. He just smacks you across the face and says, get on with the job. Just pull yourself together and, just move forward. So I really appreciate that. All right. So that was James Allen. I hope you enjoyed that. So I'm seeing that there's some questions today coming in. So I want to look at these. And we have Shika, first time here. You meditate with me on Saturdays. Well, welcome, Shika. Glad you're here. Anil has a question. Let's see what this says. We conduct meditation sessions in my company every day and host awareness sessions. Okay, that's wonderful. Then you go on to say, one interested brother had this question. The question is, you have a concept of a living master. If we practice heartfulness, should we change masters when we have a new one? Okay, that's the question. Should we change masters when we have a new one? And then he goes on to say, will it not be like personality reverence than the abstract or original master? Okay, so I'm not sure what that part of it exactly means. So I feel that I can answer this with, I have some qualification to answer this question. And the reason is that out of the 4 spiritual masters of heartfulness, I have met and spent time with 3 of the 4. So I've been through 2 transitions of when Babaji passed and then when Chariji passed. And so this question is, should we change masters when we have a new one? You're not changing masters. You're mixing up the physical form to be the master. And that's the illusion. Okay. Someone asked Chariji one time, they said, Chariji, are the masters of the past, were those greater masters like Jesus and Buddha, and they named some others, or are the current masters, are they, more powerful, or, this was the question. And he gave a really beautiful answer. And he said, the water of yesterday and the water of today is the same water. Okay. So that goes to show that, it's not the form. The living master is the one who's got their foot in the door, keeping the door open for us. Okay. You think of it like that. And so it's always the living guide that's here during these current times, that is, bringing this flow of transmission and grace, and also able to make modifications and enhancements to the method so that it continues to evolve and adapt for the needs of the people of today. There is no use saying, Babaji was my master and I only think of Babaji, and or I like Chariji, and Daji's doing something that Chariji didn't do, so I can't accept. Look, there's that's a huge misunderstanding. Okay, it's the water of yesterday and the water of today is the same water. And so someone's got to bring that water to us. Now I'm going to give you another analogy, and Anil, you can convey this to your coworker, this little story. Imagine that someone is out in the desert and they don't have any food or water, and they've been out in the desert for 3 days and they've lost their way, and now they're dying of thirst. Okay. Suddenly, out of nowhere, someone appears and they bring this person water to drink. And the person drinks this water and they feel life coming back into their body and they're starting to feel refreshed. Here's the question. Are you grateful to the water, or are you grateful to the person who brings you the water? Okay. I wanted you to think about that for a minute. So the answer is, you're grateful to the person who brings you the water. The water cannot receive your gratitude. Now, the person who brings the water is the guide, the master, the guru. And the water is God. Without water, we can't live. Okay. So we need a spiritual guide, a living guide. You couldn't say in that scenario, you couldn't, if you were the person who was dying of thirst, and this person came along to bring you water, you wouldn't stop and say, oh no, sorry, I can't take that because my previous, guru said, that he will open the door, that he will be the way. That type of faith is not very realistic. Okay. And it lacks understanding. It's making the assumption that the physical form, alone is the essence. And if that was the case, then none of us would be able to become that, like what the spiritual master is trying to make us like themselves, the masters. They're trying to make us like themselves. So this is why we should always, when there's a transition from one spiritual guide to another, we have to also make a transition too. And that transition isn't easy. It's just not. This would be like, you've fallen deeply in love with someone and either they are no longer in your life or they pass away or something, and then someone else shows, you don't immediately love another person. Any of these things are a relationship, and this is at the human level. Now, at the spiritual level, conceptually, we can say, if we have the wisdom, we can say, okay, all right, I understand this is the new successor, new representative and guide. We can say that. But for the heart to really come to a point of accepting that, it's a transition. So, but thank you, Anil, for asking that question. And I hope you'll convey that to your coworker. Krishna Semi, nice to have you. Basawaraj, I hope I said that right. Basawaraj. Maya Omiya from Maya. Okay, that's very funny. From Bali. Okay, so here's another question, or maybe it's a comment. Hi, Brian. I was just wishing that I could see you at Kana, but I didn't. Anyway, let's see next time. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Okay. Anil says, thank you very much. I can now go back confidently with the response. All right, keep the door open for us. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for those. Thank you for that question, Anil. And I think that that was helpful for all of us watching. It's good to understand that, you know, and having been through these transitions, um, yeah, I'm just so confident uh, in the living guide. And the living guide right now is Dodgy, and he's the one who we need to be connecting with. And with that, let's just do that. It's time for meditation, and we're going to meditate now for about 25, 30 minutes. If you are joining for the first time, the practice we're doing is called heartfulness. It's a wonderful meditation. It utilizes something called yogic transmission, which is very hard to explain that, but let's just say that this yogic transmission, the mind welcomes it, and it helps to regulate the mind. And very soon that we're able to let the mind settle and go into a deep meditative state, even reaching states of samadhi, even in our first meditation. So my request to you is just be open to receive. Just be open to receive, and don't have too many expectations. Just wait to see what's there percolating up in the heart, because we meditate on the heart. I'll guide us into it, and at the end, when the session's concluded, you'll clearly hear me say that's all, and then I'll bring us out of the meditation. All right. So please sit comfortably. And let's start the session by taking a slow, deep breath in and let it go. Let your shoulders relax and drop down. Allow your arms to relax and your palms and fingers. And now let's bring our attention to the area of the heart. Feel the heart area is softening, and there's a lightness there. And now let's rest on the source of this lightness, already present in the heart. And just feel that the source is inviting you inward. Let's stay with that thought. That's all. Please keep your eyes closed and observe how you're feeling now. And let's just feel this deep, peaceful feeling is expanding within us and all around us. Okay, whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, that was very nice. So I just see Yeshila from South Africa joining today. So thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. And before we all move on with our day or evening, I just want to say that, I have gotten to the point where I'm very extremely busy with Quora and mission work and so many different things. And I'm looking for a couple people who would be willing to help me. And I would like it if you have some experience in social media, that would be very helpful. And just some organizational things. And there's no pay, of course, for all volunteers. I don't get paid, but if you have an interest in that, I want to put a small team together, and we would probably meet once a week. But I really could use some help, so I will leave you all with that. And dear friends, as I always say, and until next time we meet, have a great week and stay with the heart. All the best.